Recording. I wonder if you could set up a delay. Okay. So, we thought we'd talk a little bit about the Maitreyian perspective on COVID-19 as it applies to freedom, because there's a lot of people out there these days that are deciding what freedom means and what it doesn't mean, and they're fighting back and forth, and everybody's just in this uproar. Should we be free? Should we be safe? What's right? What's wrong? And so we've been talking a lot about it, and we thought we would try to give the Maitreyian perspective.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I was very enlightened myself, because I was really quite upset about, people being angry with one another, and there didn't seem to be any understanding about either side. And we were talking, and we discovered a higher truth. It always feels good to be able to get a higher truth, and I was able to understand better what was going on, and it made me feel better inside, because I was kind of upset too to hear people in such a time that we're in to be fighting amongst one another when we have something higher.
So what was your actual question that started the whole discussion?
There were the protests on the Esplanade and other places about people complaining that their freedom's being taken away, that they can't go on the beach or the Esplanade or the parks. And then I thought, well, aren't these people also concerned about the well-being of their neighbors, their friends, their families? And I couldn't grasp where that, or why that didn't fit in.
Yeah, and and I think that the problem is that the premise. Everybody has a premise that they're coming from. The people who want freedom and the maximum amount of freedom are coming from the premise of freedom. People who want safety are coming from the premise of safety. And if you look at the premise of freedom, just as it is, people want to be free to go to the beaches. They want to be free to work. Yeah. They want to be free to live their lives as they had been living their lives before all this happened. And that's totally understandable. But the Maitreyian perspective adds something to freedom. We don't just have freedom without one other very important thing, and this is something that Maitreya taught his entire life in teaching. It's kind of the basis of his very essence, is that along with freedom comes inescapable personal responsibility. They're like this. They go hand in hand together. You cannot separate them. And so I think the emergence of these two points of views are freedom. Yes, we love freedom. We are free. We're Americans. We're people. We're human beings. We have God-given freedoms. We are free. But we must remember that we have inescapable personal responsibility that's locked hand in hand with that freedom.
Right. And the freedom to choose. That's another thing that I don't think they realize, that you always have the freedom to choose to do something and take the responsibility for that choice you made.
Right.
Yeah. And that's, to me, like when someone says, well, I have the right to go on the beach. Well, you can make that choice. You might get arrested, but you can choose to go there. That's what free choice is all about. But along with it is always the responsibility that you get from doing that.
And the amazing thing about that free choice, and Maitreya always taught that free choice is the inherent quality of the soul. I'm not saying it right.
It's a God-given
freedom is free choice. Free choice is an inherent quality of the soul. Meaning you can't give it up. We could live in a total dictatorship or communist regime, and the dictator could be saying, if you do this, I will kill you, or any of you who do this. Well, he still can't take away our free choice. I have the choice to do it and get killed, maybe. Do it and start a revolution, maybe, that saves the rest of the people in my country. Not do it and just live under the dictatorship, all of these choices, and we still have free choice, like Tara was saying.
Yeah.
We could still go to the beach
Yeah.
and hang out, and you might get arrested. You have the choice to do that. That has not been taken away, and none of our fundamental rights in the Constitution and Bill of Rights have been taken away. We can still, we still have freedom to worship. We have freedom to believe, to say, to speak, whatever we believe. We're doing what we're doing right here is an expression of that freedom. Nobody's trying to take that away.
But you were saying about what was really enlightening to me was that starting out with a right premise or any premise kind of explains to me how people come to a conclusion that I couldn't otherwise understand. And then when Ela was saying, well, they have people have faulty premises,
Right.
and it leads down. It's just that one premise can lead to so many misunderstandings and
Right.
everything.
And so people who say, well, I have the right to go to the beach, they're missing that premise that, of course they do. But they have that personal responsibility for what they've chosen to do.
Yeah, and what
to
we've...
just, just to rally against a what is it? It's a law. It's not even a law exactly, but they're not looking at the whole picture. Like I could go to the beach, and maybe I was asymptomatic of COVID-19, and spread it to somebody who spread it to somebody else, and I'm responsible. Really, I'm responsible if any of those people die. I'm responsible if they catch it. I'm responsible even more if they die. That's my personal responsibility. And there comes a point, I guess, where it's way beyond your head. But you started it because you weren't thinking about the whole issue,
Yeah, and totally understandable. There are people out there, we all know them, that believe it's all either a hoax or it's overflated or,
Or the
is that a
government's
right
trying
word?
to take over, take our freedoms away.
And I doubt that, because that would mean every single country in the world is conspiring to take away the freedoms of all the people. So I doubt that seriously. What we are doing might be considered by people who think that maybe it's been overblown and it's not really as bad as everyone says it is. We probably are on the side of overcautious. Because we are combining freedom, our desire for freedom, with our inescapable personal responsibility. I do not personally want to be responsible for going out, maybe being asymptomatic, and like Tara was saying, giving it to someone else who takes it to someone else who takes it to someone else who dies. I am still personally responsible for that. I know it in my very heart and soul and spirit. And so I choose to follow these rules and regulations, But again, you have that choice.
Yeah, you're still free to say, I don't care, I'm going to do it anyway. But you'll still have the responsibility. You can't escape. It's inescapable. That's the point. It's inescapable.
Well, I think if we could...
Responsibility.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
And it just made me think that, the people who, governors or mayors who make these decisions, I guess I like to think that, they're doing the best they can with the information that they have. And they're making the decisions for a whole population. And sometimes I forget that they have a big responsibility too. And, they are doing the best that they can.
And they see their personal responsibility, given that they were elected by us, and that is part of our freedom in this country to elect our public officials. Given that they were elected by us, they feel a duty and a responsibility to do right by the people. Maybe they're misguided. Maybe this is overblown. I don't know for sure, but I would rather err on the side of caution and make sure that we're safe and know that truly nobody can take away my freedom, because my freedom is God-given. That's a Maitreyian perspective in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Jai Bhagwanji.
Jai Bhagwanji.
Jai Bhagwanji.